Welcome to the vlog. So this morning I'm gonna go out and get my power meter installed. So let's talk about what I got. So I've been talking back and forth about the two types of power meters that I was considering. That was a crank-based power meter and a pedal-based power meter. So the pros and cons kind of was, let's say for the pedal style, it's really easy to change between bikes because I have two bikes, a cyclocross bike and then my road bike, my transonic road bike. But you're stuck using road shoes and road cleats. And 90% of the time I use mountain bike shoes because I usually ride while commuting, and then only on the weekends will I use like my road shoes. So the benefits with the crank-based power meters is that while you can swap them bike to bike, it doesn't take too much effort. I like being able to swap on my transonic is the bike I use the most. I like to be able to throw on the mountain bike pedals or the road pedals really quickly. And I don't really ride enough on my second bike to warrant swapping the crank over every time. It's just not worth it. So with that being said, I bet you can probably tell I did go ahead and buy the Stages Power Meter, but it wasn't quite as easy as just buying a power meter and the head unit. It actually was kind of a pain in the butt. So let's go check out my bike. So here's the bike setup after spending way too much money. So we'll kind of start at the top. So I went ahead and bought the Garmin 520. So with a power meter, you really need a decent head unit. You can use your phone, but my phone's a little bit too expensive. If I fall or crash or something, this is actually cheaper to replace than a phone, though it's not really as... It doesn't really have as many features as a phone, but I like the display. And then we go down, and the crank that came with the bike, Chippy, get out of the way. The crank that came with the bike was like an off-brand, and the Stages Power Meter only work with like the name brand stuff. So I had to get the Ultegra 11-speed crank, and then also a new bottom bracket. So that in itself was kind of a mess, but when I bought the head unit and then the power meter itself, it pretty much paid for the crank and bottom bracket like all together, and then I did have to pay like a little bit for installation. So this is like a really funky bottom bracket. And I didn't have like the press tool, so I figured, well, I'd rather spend the money, get it done professionally. I'm not really going to be taking it in and out, so I'd rather pay a little bit extra to get it done. But I'm really happy with this crank set. So now I have a full Shimano group set, both the shifters, derailleurs, everything is full Ultegra 11-speed. And then I went for the subcompact, the 5236. That's the crank size that was on the bike originally. And for racing, I felt like I couldn't go to compact. I think as I continue to improve, I'll get pretty close to hitting that last cog, the 11-speed cog, and I'd rather avoid it. So if I want to, I can go to 50. All I have to do is swap out these chain rings. So in the future, I have the flexibility, but I found that the subcompact has been really good for training. And then in the couple of races that I've done, I really like having the bigger gear up front. But yeah, I'm super excited to get out and do some training. I definitely need to do an FTP test. There is a quick little FTP test on the little Garmin computer. I didn't quite understand it. I think I'm going to have to give it a little look up to make sure I'm doing it properly. But there's like a warm-up, and then a zone of 6 effort, and then there's like a 10-minute block, and then a 20-minute block. So I'm not really sure about that. So I ended up, I bit the bullet a little bit early, but I figure I'm going to be spending a lot of time in my commuting and training and stuff. Like, this really is going to get the best out of me, get the best out of my training. So I'm super excited about it. And it's not really about the numbers, it's just going out there and being fit. But at the same time, this is a lot of motivation. I have a car, but I ride 99% of the times. On Saturdays, if I go out, I'll drive my wife and I, and when we go to church, we drive. But other than that, I mean, I ride this all the time. So this is my fitness. This is what we love to do. This is why we're watching cycling vlogs. Getting out there, burn some fat, not oil. Hope you enjoyed the ride. Be safe.